You check your phone one more time, not because you need to, because some part of you needs to know she's still there, still safe, still yours, still not slipping through your fingers while you weren't looking. You tell yourself this is normal. Everyone checks their phone, but somewhere underneath that thought is a quieter one you don't say out loud. If I stop watching, will it still be there when I look back? That question is the real subject of this video. Not her, not the relationship. That question and everything it's been quietly running your life. Here's the paradox nobody talks about. You can love someone completely and still not trust a single thing about how they love you back. You can be loyal, devoted, present every single day, and still be building the whole relationship on fear instead of trust. Not fear of her, fear of what silence means, fear of a delayed reply says about you, fear that the moment you stop watching, it will fall apart. So here's the question that's going to sit with you for the next few minutes. If trust and fear can look exactly the same from the outside, the loyalty, the effort, the presence, how do you actually know which one you're living inside of? And a second question, quieter than the first. What would you have to feel if you finally let yourself stop watching? We'll come back to both of those, because by the end of this, you're going to know the 3 signs that tell the difference. Not signs you look for in her, signs you find in yourself. This isn't a video about red flags. It's not about how to spot a bad partner. It's about something a lot more uncomfortable. The way some of us built our whole capacity to love around managing anxiety instead of feeling safety. And if that sentence just made something in your chest tighten a little, stay. That tightness is the whole video. Let's name what's actually happening, because it has a name. And naming it is the first thing that makes it survivable. Psychologists call it anxious attachment, a pattern formed early, often long before you ever had a relationship to test it on. If love as a child felt inconsistent, sometimes close, sometimes cold, sometimes there, and sometimes not, your nervous system learned a rule. Closeness has to be monitored, or it disappears. That rule doesn't turn off just because you grew up. It just changes targets. It used to be a parent's mood. Now it's a read receipt. This is what's sometimes called family of origin modeling. The quiet idea that we don't just learn facts from the home we grew up in, we learn a template for what love is supposed to feel like. If closeness in that home came with tension, or with someone who withdrew when things got hard, then a part of you learned, early and wordlessly, that love and worry arrive together. Not because anyone meant to teach you that, because it was simply what love looked like. So it became what love means. There's also something psychologists call rejection sensitivity, a heightened alertness to any sign, real or imagined, that someone is pulling away. It's not weakness, it's your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do, scan for danger before it hurts you. And underneath both of these sits a quieter distortion, mind reading, deciding what she's thinking, what she's feeling, whether she still wants you here based on nothing but a tone of voice or a pause a few seconds too long. Your brain fills the silence with a story, and the story is almost always the worst one. Here's the reframe though, because this is where most people get it wrong. None of this makes you needy. It makes you someone whose nervous system never fully learned what safety felt like, so it built a very sophisticated alarm system instead. An alarm system that's been keeping you safe by keeping you scared. Think of it like this. Trust is a nervous system at rest. Fear is a nervous system on watch. From a distance, both can look like devotion. Up close, only one of them lets you breathe. Here's what it costs you, and I want you to actually sit with this instead of nodding past it. It costs you presence. You can be in the room with someone you love and still be somewhere else entirely, replaying a conversation, rehearsing your next move, bracing for an exit that hasn't happened yet. It costs you softness, because a nervous system on watch doesn't relax into love. It performs love while quietly preparing for its absence, and it costs you the thing you wanted most in the first place, to be fully known, because you can't be fully known while half of you is standing guard. There's an old idea, worn smooth by centuries of people saying it in different words. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. If fear is the lens, then even a partner who is fully present will look, sometimes, like someone about to leave. Say that again, slower. Even a partner who is fully present will look, sometimes, like someone about to leave. Not because of anything she did, because of the lens. This is the identity conflict underneath all of it. You didn't set out to become someone who tests love before he'll accept it. You became him, one small self-protection at a time. A joke you didn't tell because it might not land. A need you didn't voice because voicing it once cost you. A door you kept half closed, not out of coldness, but out of a very old, very reasonable fear of what happens when you open it all the way and no one's there. You are not broken, you are adapted. But adaptation, left unexamined, becomes the cage you mistake for the shape of your own personality. Here's where it shows up now, in the ordinary, unremarkable moments of an actual relationship. You might reread a text 3 times, searching for a tone that isn't there. You might go quiet during conflict, not because you don't care, but because some part of you learned that speaking up made things worse, so silence became the safest kind of loyalty. You might find yourself drawn again and again to people who feel just out of reach, because a nervous system built on vigilance can mistake unpredictability for chemistry. You became someone who logs evidence without meaning to, a slower reply than usual, a cancelled plan, and something in you quietly files it away just in case. You might self-isolate the moment things get real, pulling back right when a relationship starts asking for the one thing you never learned was safe to give, full visibility. You might need reassurance on a loop, not because once was never enough, but because the fear resets faster than the reassurance can land. You might rehearse conversations before they happen, building a whole defense for an accusation nobody's made yet. You might quietly test a partner's loyalty without ever naming it as a test, creating small moments of distance just to watch how she responds, because a part of you needs the proof more than you need the peace. None of these are character flaws laid out for you to feel ashamed of. They're a list of adaptations. Every single one of them kept a younger version of you safe once. The only problem is that they never got the memo that you're safe now too. None of this makes you difficult to love. It makes you someone who learned to love inside a system that never taught him what safety actually felt like, and who kept showing up anyway. That's not a flaw. That's proof of how much you were always willing to give, even when you weren't sure it was safe to do. So here's where we go now. Not toward more insight, but toward the actual work of change. And it starts quieter than you'd expect. It starts with awareness. Just noticing in real time when you're reacting to the story in your head instead of what's actually in front of you. That single pause, the one between the trigger and the reaction, is where everything changes. It continues with something people underestimate: inner child work. Not as an abstract idea, but as a practice, asking what the younger version of you needed to hear back then, and learning to give yourself that now, instead of waiting for a partner to supply it. It requires boundaries, not walls, but honest limits. The ability to say, I need to talk about this instead of going quiet, and mean it, even when going quiet feels safer. It requires emotional regulation, learning to sit with the discomfort of not knowing without needing to check, confirm, or control your way out of the feeling. And it requires learning to say the need out loud, plainly, without disguising it as a joke or a test. Not, "Do you even care?" but "I felt distant from you today, and I wanted to say that instead of pulling away." None of this happens in one conversation or one video or one breakthrough on a random Tuesday. It happens in the small moments you choose differently. The text you don't reread a fourth time, the silence you break instead of sit inside, the reassurance you give yourself before you go looking for it somewhere else. Here's the line I want you to keep, the one worth writing down. Trust isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to stay open while the fear is still in the room. That's it, that's the whole shift. Not becoming fearless, becoming willing to stay soft anyway. So, the 3 signs. You already have them if you were listening. Trust looks like presence without performance. Fear looks like vigilance disguised as love. Trust can sit in silence without needing to fill it. Fear fills every silence with a story. And trust lets you be fully known, not because nothing could ever go wrong, but because you've decided you're allowed to find out instead of deciding in advance that it will. If any part of this felt like it was describing you a little too accurately, you're not the only one. There's a version of you on the other side of this, one who stopped confusing watching for loving. Don't just keep this one to yourself. Send it to someone who feels exactly what we just talked about, but has never had the words for it.